Yeah, there's some issue. Okay. Thank you to producer Cameron Deshnad, or if that's how his name was pronounced. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. We didn't get audio for that entire time. So, anyways, hi, Woolley Mammoth Wednesdays. I'm your host, Cameron Woolley, bringing you the best and only the best sports on campus. All right, here we go. There we go. Okay, so obviously, I want to talk about last night in the NBA. LeBron James, the not only the biggest story in sports, but honestly the biggest story in this country right now, if you ask me. As everyone is like, for the last 20 years, LeBron has not only been an icon in basketball, not only an icon in sports, not just in this country, but in the entire world. LeBron James has been one of the premier faces of humanity, if you think about it. And this is a lot coming from me. I am not the biggest, I'm not a LeBron James fan by any means. I have plenty of problems with the guy, but I'm also not one of those people who viscerally hates him. I feel like I'm one of the few people on this planet who says that about LeBron. Like, yeah, guy's all-time great, but I'm not here to talk about the GOAT debate. I'm not here to talk about that. Because, like, there's enough of that going around. Just what we need to sit here and talk about now is how much we should be appreciating the. And I know this is such a worn out trope in sports media, but really, just you have to appreciate the career this guy's had. You have to. Like, you talk about, in my opinion, the second greatest NBA player of all time, because I don't think anybody's touching Michael Jordan. Like, sure, Victor Wembanyama, he could be, like, the next all-time great, could be on Mount Rushmore, definitely by the time his career ends. But again, he's just a prospect. He's going to get drafted first overall. There's a tankathon for him right now in the league. But but again, that's not the point I'm trying to make. I'm not trying to talk about Michael Jordan or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Kobe Bryant or anybody who is compared to LeBron on a daily basis. Because honestly, this is just about him. We should be talking about him and his career and the achievements that he has made. Just remarkable. Just an absolutely remarkable player. Just an amazing feat by an amazing player that we gotta acknowledge. Even the people who aren't fans of LeBron, you gotta acknowledge it. You have to acknowledge just also, like, the longevity. He has been one of the premier athletes in the world for the last 2 decades. He got drafted in 2003. He has been playing in the NBA longer than I have been on this planet. I am an adult. I am a freshman in college. And even there was a world where LeBron James was in the NBA before Cameron Woolley was born. And, like, every year he has been an MVP candidate. Every year he's been an all-star. Every year he has been contending for a championship. And I know in the NBA it's a very individual-based league where one player can make a world of difference because one player affects things so much more than in a sport like football or hockey or baseball. Like, in the NBA, your best player is on the field of play 40 minutes of the time. Like, 40 out of the 60 minutes of a game, even with load management, which LeBron has definitely taken advantage of. You're out there 40 minutes at a time. So LeBron has been making a championship caliber impact on most of the teams he has been on. Like, and sure, the Lakers the last couple of years, and I know his tenure with the Lakers has sort of been really on his, like, who's really going to view LeBron as a Laker when he retires? Honestly, who is going to view him as a member of the Lakers? Because yes, he did win a championship there, but everybody knows, everyone's like, oh, the bubble. And I know every championship in 2020 has an asterisk next to it. I know. But at some point, you gotta give the guy his due. You have to. You absolutely have to. To be this good for this long is not a fluke. The production that he has put up, I know LeMickey, I know Lit 3, 6, and 1, I know Lit Brick, I know Lit Free Throw, I know Lit Flop, I know that. I know. But you don't become the NBA's all-time leading scorer by being a fraud. You don't become the NBA's all-time leading scorer by joining up with your friends and making super teams. You don't become the NBA's all-time leading scorer by flopping. You don't become the NBA's all-time leading scorer by taking control of every team you become a part of. You don't become the NBA's all-time leading scorer by being carried by your teammates and being bailed out. As much as everyone loves to talk about Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh on the Heat, as much as everyone loves to talk about Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love on the Cavs, and when Kyrie hit the three-pointer in Game 7 against the Warriors, I know that. I know everyone loves to talk about Ray Allen. I know everyone loves to talk about AD and the bubble and all of that, and I know. But this is, and you can debate the team accomplishments, like the championships. You can debate that because the moments decide championships. Moments like Ray Allen hitting that 3 against the Spurs. Moments like Kyrie Irving hitting the 3 against the Warriors. And I know that circumstances like going into the bubble affect winning a championship. I know. But this scoring, like points in total, and it's not like he was a ball hog either. You want to talk about a ball hog? He plays with one of the biggest ball hogs in NBA history in Russell Westbrook, a guy who has made a career off of stat padding and being selfish. LeBron is a guy who, all things considered, is a pretty good all-around player. He's good defensively. He's developed a quietly lethal three-pointer. He developed a sidestep 3 that has become unstoppable. He developed the fadeaway, and he's a student of the game. Student of the game in every aspect. And I know the guy has a gigantic ego. I know. But this accomplishment, you can't deny it. You absolutely cannot deny that this was him breaking the all-time scoring record. That's you individually. That's not the guys feeding it to you. Well, I mean, yeah, sure, sometimes the guy's feeding it to you, but how do you explain the first, 8 years of his career? When he was on the Cavs teams that were terrible year in and year out, where the best supporting cast that he got was a washed-up Shaquille O'Neal. Think about that, where he was willing those teams to the finals and willing those teams on deep playoff runs. Think about that when thinking about the teams that LeBron has had. And I know I get the whole super team thing. And I do acknowledge that he did need a lot of help to win championships. But again, so did Jordan. Granted, Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman are not Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, but dude, those are still very good players. Like, sure, like when you talk about winners in the history of sports, there's maybe 2 other guys who come to mind before Michael Jordan. And those guys are honestly Tom Brady and, maybe Michael Phelps. Maybe. But again, this isn't about team accomplishments. This is about individual. And LeBron, that's him. I know I'm repeating this a lot, but I need to drive this point home. You cannot dispute this. And again, I'm not trying to sound like I'm riding LeBron here, because I'm not. I'm not. I have problems with the guy, but I feel like this isn't problems. I've talked about those problems before. Like on my podcast back home, I'm sure there's some episode in like the 170 of them where I explain my mindset on LeBron James. But the bottom line is, fact of the matter is, this is greatness. It's greatness to a T. It's greatness. And you have to appreciate greatness, no matter where it comes from. And I'm talking about sports here. In sports, you have to appreciate greatness. On the field, on the court, on the ice, you have to appreciate greatness. Because a lot of athletes have haters. If you're good enough at something, you're gonna have people who hate you. I think about like in sports, yeah, I'm sure Wayne Gretzky had a lot of haters in the 80s. I mean, Devils fans, shush. Devils fans and Wayne Gretzky had beef because Wayne Gretzky opened his mouth and said that the Devils were a Mickey Mouse organization. Like, sure, yeah, I know old school Devils fans, they still hate Gretzky. In football, need I explain the hate for Tom Brady? Patrick Mahomes is starting to get hate. Thinking the league's rigged for him. That Arian Foster podcast where he said the league is rigged, and then people using that clip to explain that, oh, the league is rigged for Mahomes. If you're great at something, people are going to hate you. And those are the facts. It's no different with Brady. It's no different with Gretzky. No different with, say, Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson in boxing. No different than, in the NHL, Sidney Crosby. People hated him. People hated his guts. People called him soft. People called him a crybaby. Ovechkin, people hate him. McDavid, people hate him. In the NFL, Peyton Manning had his fair share of haters. The bottom line is the hate for LeBron, it's not exclusive. It's not exclusive. And people don't want to admit this. But again, if you are good enough at something, people are going to hate you. Because chances are you screwed over their team. At some point, their face is attached to one of the most humiliating moments in the history of your franchise. And you like toward the end of these players' careers, you really got to sit back. And I don't know how close we are to the end of LeBron's career, because honestly, the timeline for his retirement is probably going to be, he's going to go whatever team drafts his kid, and he's probably going to play there for a year or two and then retire, because that's his ultimate goal at this point. Sure, you could argue he has a lot to prove. You could argue that. But still, that is his goal from this point. Him personally, if I had to talk to him about it, he would, like behind closed doors, we were just sitting down having a chat at the table, like off the record, he would probably tell me that his goal is to play with his kid. So we still have a few more years of LeBron. Like it or not, he's going to be here. And he's going to keep piling on to that record that is going to become more and more unbreakable with every single bucket he hits. You ask me, I think he easily breaks 40,000. With the way his body is kept up, and with sports medicine and how technology and whatnot has advanced, I do think LeBron is going to keep up this level for at least until the real twilight of his career. Like really when the sun's almost set on this guy. That is the only time I believe we're going to see some regression. Sort of like Tom Brady. where Brady this year really like showed his first signs of falling off. And then it's like, okay, I'm gonna call it here. But at the earliest, it's when Bronny gets drafted. And I'm sure, and I have my opinions on Bronny. Like I've seen his stats. It's not the most glowing thing in the world. But there is going to be a college that is going, there's going to be a Division One big time school that is going to take him. There is going to be an NBA team that drafts him really high because his father and him are a joint package. And whenever that career ends, in the twilight of his career, talking about LeBron, we have to appreciate it. Because, in my opinion, I do not believe we are going to see a player like him ever again. Never are we going to see a player be this consistent for this long and break as many records as he has. We're never seeing it again. That's all I got to say about LeBron and his record, because I didn't want to dedicate the whole show to that. Still got another half of the show to go. We got obviously going to want to talk about the Super Bowl. That's happening on Sunday. It's so funny. Even though I am super invested in football again because the Giants are good, I haven't really felt as much like festiveness about the Super Bowl, because the Super Bowl is always this big event where everyone's like, "Oh my God, oh yeah, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl," and everyone's all over. Everyone's so excited. But this year, it's just sort of like there. It's sort of there. It's like, yeah, the Eagles. And I know the Eagles being in it has probably sucked a lot of the excitement out of it for me personally, because, again, the Philadelphia Eagles, in my opinion, you ask me, one of the great evils of the world, the Philadelphia Eagles. And, the Chiefs, they've sort of been in it a lot. And I don't mind Mahomes. I like Mahomes. As much as the guy has been shoved in our faces, I like Mahomes. Sure, his brother gets on my nerves. I guarantee you, over the offseason, Patrick had a chat with Jackson and Brittany, his wife. And so, like, dude, knock it off. You're making me look like an idiot out here. And you're harming my brand. So I'm sure him and probably a few PR reps went up to him and was like, dude, can it with the act. You're harming my client's reputation as a player. So Mahomes, definitely another one of the all-time greats who I did say before, getting hate because he's great. And if you're great, you get hate. Didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it did. But this is a loaded Super Bowl in terms of talent. You got all pros all over the place. This is going to be a fantastic game. Like, you ask me, I think this is going to be one of the better Super Bowls of the decade. As you just have the two best teams in the NFL, just pure, unadulterated talent. No miracle run from anybody. No surprises. Not like last year where the Bengals were making a surprise, and not like the year before where the Bucs were a wild card team and they pulled up out of nowhere and they, after starting badly, and even though that was Tom Brady, the year before that, the 49ers and Chiefs, that wasn't very big, but there's always like some surprise. These are the 2-1 seeds, the top dogs in the NFL. You cannot spin anything. Because yes, the Eagles had a very easy path to the Super Bowl. I'm aware of that. I'm aware. They beat a Giants team that was punching above their weight the whole year and is at least a year or two away from really, fighting the top teams in the conference. And the Chiefs had the Jaguars, although the Bengals gave them a bit. But again, two best teams in the NFL playing each other in the Super Bowl. Stacked rosters all over. Granted, although the Chiefs do not have Tyreek this time around, which is very much a question mark because the Eagles do have Darius Slay and James Bradbury, who are just a phenomenal duo to have on your flanks on the outside, and especially in today's NFL where the need of a number one shutdown corner is overlooked, at least more than it should be. Like, the need of a number one shutdown corner is really important because teams are focusing on getting that number one top wide receiver. And you need that number one corner to play one-on-one and match up well against the number one receiver. And in regards to, like, the Eagles' offense, Jalen Hurts, I mean, granted, he's in a good situation, about as good a situation as you can be in for a quarterback, but you have, like, he's talented. I've always said, I've always believed in his athletic ability. Back when he was at Alabama, I was like, oh, maybe someone should take a flyer on this guy. Granted, when the Eagles took him, I thought it was the worst pick ever. I was laughing when the Eagles took Jalen Hurts. I was being honest because they already got Carson Wentz. But Howie Roseman, like every other move he has made, apparently, he's playing 4D chess. And other moves that Howie Roseman's made, trading for Darius Slay, trading for A.J. Brown, aggressive moves like this that win teams championships. And I feel like a lot of other GMs in sports could take lessons from Howie Roseman in really going for it, not being stuck in the middle and not being stuck in the cycle of being good but not good enough, but being consistent. But the bottom line is you got to take risks. And these risks have very much panned out for the Eagles. The Eagles traded a first-round pick for A.J. Brown, who we didn't know was going to sign an extension with them. He ended up signing an extension nearly immediately afterward. And A.J. Brown, who, God, dear God, I mean, you want to talk about a number one receiver? I mean, geez, I cannot stand him. I cannot stand A.J. Brown. And if I saw J-Rob, the Titans GM, who decided to gift wrap a number one receiver to the Philadelphia Eagles, I'd love a word with him. I'd just like a word. I just want to talk to him. I just want to talk to the guy to get the reasoning as to why he would gift wrap a top receiver in the NFL to the Philadelphia Eagles for essentially nothing. Because the Eagles, like, if they kept that pick and drafted, say, Treylon Burks, the Eagles are a significantly worse team with Treylon Burks instead of A.J. Brown. But, again, the Eagles took the necessary risk to put themselves in the upper echelon of teams in the NFC and in the NFL. And that's not to talk about their titanium offensive line, which has given Jalen Hurts ample time to find receivers like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I mean, come on. Again, also, I'd love to have a word with Jerry Jones on that thought process. It's like, oh yeah, we'll let our rivals leapfrog us to get the best receiver in the draft, or who I thought at the time was the best receiver in the draft. Granted, Jamar Chase has undeniably proven himself as the best receiver from that class. But also as a Giants fan, it sort of hurts, sort of think that sandwiched in between where the Giants were supposed to pick, where they traded back and selected Kadarius Toney, and then used the pick that they got from that trade back with the Bears. They used it on Evan Neal, who is not a very good right tackle. But again, I mean, for now, Evan Neal can still develop. But anyways, this is not to talk about my team. This is to talk about their biggest rival, who is, I mean, I'm talking about what did I do to deserve this? Like, what did I do to deserve the Eagles getting gift wrapped 2 championship level teams within 5 years? I mean, dear Lord. I mean, like, I could barely handle one Eagles Super Bowl. I don't know if I can handle another. Just, dear. It's, oh, God. Also, that defense. I mean, that defensive line. They nearly broke the sack record. They got 4 guys with 10 sacks or more. I mean, Hassan Reddick, that's another guy who fell into their laps. Again, making the necessary moves. Tell you, if it's anybody who should take notes from the Eagles and Howie Roseman, it's Brian Cashman and the Yankees. You want to talk about complacent, not taking the right risks? God. But again, guys like Hassan Reddick, Brandon Graham, Javon Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, who's coming off the bench, mind you. One of the better defensive tackles in the league coming off the bench, and Jordan Davis as well. It's ridiculous. I mean, how does that team get assembled? Dude, they're the Avengers. They're stacked top to bottom. You can't deny it. They're the best team in the league. But on the other side, and again, making an Avengers reference, they have a Hulk. And Patrick Mahomes is very much that Hulk. Mahomes, again, like as much as I would love to easily crown the Eagles Super Bowl champions, you cannot count out Patrick Mahomes. The talent of the guy is unheard of. And not to talk about his receivers who have been solid. No, Juju Smith-Schuster has come in and done pretty well. Again, Kadarius Toney, giant draft pick, giant draft bust, turned into potential Super Bowl champion within the span of 2 years. That's great. Their defense, solid enough. Chris Jones, Frank Clark, very good defensive line. I mean, I don't know what else to say about the Chiefs that hasn't been said before. They're just they're a good team. They've been a good team for a while. But you ask me, man, I'm going to, as good as Mahomes is, I think the depth that the Eagles have and the fact that I think it's the price of the Giants becoming good again. I'm going to throw up in my mouth when I say this, but I'm taking the Eagles in this. I'm absolutely taking the Eagles. That's my pick. That's my official pick. I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think it's going to be a bit close. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. This game is not going to be a blowout. Not by any means. Could it get out of hand? Possibly. But I am going to be taking the Eagles in this. By what score, I don't know. But if I had to pick a Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl MVP is a quarterback award at this point. With the exception of a couple of guys like, Cooper Kupp and Julian Edelman. I'm going to have the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. And Super Bowl MVP is a tough pick because there are so many guys on the Eagles who could take over a game on their own. I'm going to go Super Bowl MVP Hassan Reddick. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl, and Hassan Reddick is going to win Super Bowl MVP. I don't know what the prop bets are for this. My show back home, we'd always do prop bets in a big Super Bowl show, but on the prop bets, whatever the over-under is on the national anthem, I am taking the over, as per usual. And, yeah, God help us all when the Eagles win the Super Bowl. Because it's happening. It's happening. I don't want it to happen. I'm going to be rooting for the Kansas City Chiefs very much. And the storyline of Andy Reid. I can't believe I forgot to mention this. The storyline of Andy Reid going against the team that forced him out, against the fan base that chewed him out every single year. As funny of a story as that would be. And also I have some personal, family history behind that. Andy Reid and the Eagles. But, again, I'm taking the Eagles. That's my pick. I'm not changing it. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to be your Super Bowl 57 champions. And come next week, I'm going to be sulking and I'm going to be sad that a Philadelphia sports franchise has once again seen success. And that'll be all from me today. We know we're coming up on half an hour. I like to keep it half an hour. So, anyways, from the studios of WIUR at the La Penta Student Union at Iona University, this has been Woolly Mammoth Wednesdays. I'm your host, Cameron Woolley, wishing you a very good evening, having a good rest of your week, have a good weekend. And as always, take care.